It's the mirror thing for me.
We're here. We're live.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Hello, people. Welcome back. This is Stay Mentally Dope as usual. So, I have a question. Have you ever thought about the real consequences of code switching? Like, have you ever thought that it's like actually a mental health issue and not just a
I think
regular thing?
I think that I'm beginning to more now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seem like the weight
As
of
time
it.
goes on,
Mm-hmm.
as we learn more things, it's very much connected to mental health in a way that we didn't know before. So we're going to chat a little bit about this. We're going to kind of use BAPS, the movie BAPS, if you remember that, to illustrate code switching and the toll that it takes on your mental health, that it actually is a mental health issue. And then we're going to go over some ways that this actually can affect your real life.
Okay,
hmm So if you don't
let's jump
know,
into it.
I'm Jasmine.
I'm Charmaine.
We are Stay Mentally Dope, and we're about to learn you some information.
Not learning you, so
Learn you some
okay.
information.
Okay, let's learn it. Learned it.
So, like, what is code switching? I don't know. You have
I
your definition?
Yeah, I don't even know if I have like an actual like textbook definition. Because I feel like that code switching is the idea of switching who you are or assimilating maybe in different spaces in order to match what is going on around you maybe. um
I see that.
I think about it in the context of where we normally see it in media. I feel like that we see it a lot in us Black people.
Me. That's me.
That's us. I feel like that we see it majority of the time in us. It's um, the way that we have to switch in order to survive.
hmm
I look at it as a survival technique.
Yeah. And I feel like the more that we understand like what it is and where it comes from, that's what it feels like. It feels like a survival strategy
Yeah,
that we've had to have for a very, very, very long time.
yeah.
And so now it looks a certain way and it has different like titles and labels. I think sometimes I think professionalism is a title and a label
Oh,
for like
100%.
we don't do this over here, we do it over there, and so it needs to show up and look a certain way. I think there's like some class stuff of right, like a certain class of people behave this way and a certain class of people don't, right? Like this code switching thing I feel like is easy for people to take and use it as a weapon sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that you brought up a good point that maybe I have not put those two and two together, but the construct of what is considered professional, and that sometimes that also requires a level of code switching. Um, Individuals, Black women, Black men, honestly, yourself, like, have you ever? I feel like that most of us have at least at one point of time have had to gone to an interview and figured out what hairstyle is going to be the most professional.
Hmm. What's going to be perceived as the most professional?
Yes,
Yeah.
as
Mm-hmm.
as like the construct of what professionalism is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely been times where I've had braids in, and I'm okay. So like I can wear these braids up until that date, and then I need to pull my braids out
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go to this interview with the braids in,
Mm-hmm.
or with certain outfits on, or like making sure that like you know and then like that your tone and everything is policed to
Mm-hmm.
be as professional as possible, or like I said, professional as
Mm-hmm.
possible.
Yes, yes. Which I think that goes back to who gets to decide, who made the definition of what's professional.
100%. I definitely don't think that. I think that is like a systemic thing,
Mm-hmm.
that it goes back
Goes back to what?
slavery.
Oh my God, it's related to slavery. Can you believe it? It has nothing to do with slavery, right? Like it's just like it can feel that way sometimes and be like, that's just how we are. Professional means this, and we show up that way. But then, like when we pick it apart and we look under there, I'm like, where did this actually come from?
Yeah,
We can point it back.
yeah. The European culture that has told us that these specific things within this box is professional, and that anything outside of that is deemed unprofessional.
Mm-hmm.
And that we notice that most things that exude any level of Blackness is outside of that box
Mm-hmm.
and therefore unprofessional, which is why I say that I think that a lot of times code switching is a survival mechanism because it almost feels like the thing that like we have to do to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And like we can think of examples and examples and examples, but overview is like code switching and having to code switch, right? Having to live in a place where you are code switching. That means you show up at work one way, you show up at school one way, you show up in this setting one way, and then you show at home a different way. It has actually real world consequences, right?
Yeah.
Like people who have to do that or have to do that more than others, they suffer from like imposter syndrome, burnout,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, right? Like all of these things that you're feeling can kind of feel like, ooh, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, I don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do this so much that it becomes heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember that's why I said I think it's like a new thing to sit with is I don't know if anybody else can contest to this. I know that me and Jasmine talk about this, especially in our field. Most times when you go to trainings or conferences or any things of that nature, we're like one of two, three individuals who look like us. And sometimes you'll look through the room and be like, oh, hey, sister girl, like there's one more over there. But there can be a level of anxiety that comes with that
Mm-hmm.
of how I'm going to show up, how I'm going to be perceived, how I'm going to present myself, all of those things until a couple years ago I went to my first training that this was like not a thing. And I cried just from being in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Like not having that weight there
Mm-hmm.
was something that I had never experienced in my entire life. I don't think that it had like fully clicked to me what it looks like to be able to show up in my career and in my passion, but not have to code switch in order to be able to do it and just be able to come and show up authentically as myself and receive my education without that extra layer on top of there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So showing up as your full self,
Yes.
right? Like we've talked about before, like being authentic everywhere in your life is a privilege,
Mm-hmm.
right? And often Black and brown people are people who just don't fit the mold of whatever professionalism or whatever the ism that people want to label it, right? Is that you don't get to be your full authentic self.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a privilege that we have to like push against. And you don't know how much you're pushing against until you show up and you get into a space where you're like, oh, I actually don't have to push.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like the thing, because we've talked about this before, the thing that we have experienced, some people will never ever get to experience that. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that there's also the privilege that some people don't realize that they've never experienced this. So therefore, I think that when I say I think, I know because I interact with said individuals who make comments of, I don't understand why you just don't speak up. Why don't you just raise your hand and say what you have to say?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to like take a deep breath before you talk and stuff like that? Oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
I have someone in my class and she doesn't say anything. She's the only Black person in your class,
Mm-hmm.
or like it's like
But
so
like
many
she must not
layers.
have a problem with it because she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Instead of the assumption being like, um, because they don't see anything, they're fine with it. Versus why have I not made it a safe enough space for them to say something?
Yes.
Right, and there's a difference in that.
There's also
Ugh,
the different level of this as well too. When we
come on,
yeah, no, we
then.
gotta, but have you ever seen individuals? I think that like we do this in spaces that maybe like are code switching are
Mm-hmm.
appropriate. But have you ever seen individuals in their workspace and then see them outside of the workspace and someone says, "Oh, they're fake."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She up there being fake on TV for y'all.
When she come home,
That's a whole
it don't
different
look like that.
person.
It
Yeah.
don't do that.
Or even the idea sometimes of people. I always think about what was Ray Jean's real name?
I can't remember right now.
But it's even
Some real
that.
country.
Yeah, it's even that. It's the idea that I even have to like switch my name
Mm-hmm.
to be like more presentable.
Yeah.
Because the other one is going to cause problems.
Yes, absolutely. And let me just like piggyback. I feel like there's something that we haven't said yet is that there are layers to this, right? There's like, I hate always saying it's a spectrum, but like everything is a spectrum,
Yes.
right? There's ways that we do this on a smaller level, and then there's ways that we do this on a larger, more life influential level. So like small could be like, of course everybody has to show up at work and be professionalism, like have professionalism, right? Like the way that you talk with your friends is not the way that you talk with people at work. Sure, that's the case for everybody, right? Like that affects everyone. But then when we break it down more, the way that Black people show up at work is different from the way Black people get to show up in other spaces that also are professional.
Yes.
Right? Being professional around a lot of white people is not the same as being professional around a lot of Black people.
Yes.
Right? According to our definition. Right? And so that's another layer. And then we got another layer, which maybe I'll step on some toes with that, is like even in Black circles, we have people that we show up a certain way. And some other Black people don't like it because it's too hood, it's too ghetto. You need to take off your bonnet. You need to do all of these things. You need to not wear slides outside the house, right? There's another level of that, of like, you can do that, but you're doing too much, right? You're not the right kind of Black, right? And so we have this level. And then we have the more serious levels, which I think exist, but they don't exist like they used to exist, which I think is like passing. Back in the day where you used to pass or pass for white, which means you were actually Black, but you passed and everybody around you thought you were white. Most people had to like cut off their family so they wouldn't be found out that they were Black because people they wouldn't have a livelihood.
Yeah.
Right? And you see how like it goes from here. Like everybody suffers, but some people suffer more than other people.
But I still feel like that with each of those levels of the spectrum, even within ourselves, like bias exists within all of us, whether we want it to or not. Because I fall in that level. And I know I am the one sometimes who's like, she can't come out with us. But, and I have
Same, even at our own places where they'd be like, no Jordans, no hoodies, all that
no
stuff.
White tees.
It's a Black owned establishment. Yeah. So we like, what we doing here? Now, why we gotta go here and code switch? And I understand there's a lot of debate, there's a lot of controversy about it. I'm not even saying one side is right and one's not. But I'm saying it's all branches off the same tree.
But do we feel like that the roots of that tree is slavery and oppression and systemic issues and like all these things that we did not create.
Exactly.
But there's no way for us to not be affected by it.
Yes.
There's no way
internally
for us,
and externally.
Yes, there is no way for any of us to not say that these things don't affect us because you live in it every single day. You live and you breathe every single day of this. So like you can't say like, oh yeah, I didn't breathe the air. Yes, you did. At some point in life, you did.
But you didn't have a choice, though.
Yes.
This was the air that was given to you.
Yes.
We don't get to choose what particles of air we want to breathe.
On Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on.
And it's Black History Month, and I need you to know. So I'm saying, like, we all have to admit. We all have to admit that we have like some portion of the sickness that we all have.
But I do think that it requires open dialogue and open conversation that I feel like
humility
that most of us don't always make space for or allow. I'm not going to lie and say that I did not start having these open conversations until probably the last like 3 or 4 years of me like actually doing like internal search of like, oh, yeah, I struggle with that. Oh, yeah, that comes through in me often. Oh, yeah, I did look at this person and assume this or think this.
Yeah.
And it does not make you a bad person. It makes you more of an aware person to be able to say how this stuff is showing up in you because it shows up in all of us.
All of us.
But it's
to varying degrees.
Yes, but it's like, yeah, how does it show up in you? How does it affect your behavior? How does it affect your interactions with other people? And also, how does it affect how you look at yourself? Because that's a big factor too.
Woo!
One of the issues that we also talk about too for code switching is how it affects you, not even just like on like the anxiety side and the burnout side, but how do you look at yourself? Do you look at yourself as not being good enough or not being smart enough or not being educated enough because you cannot fit into a box.
Yeah. There's so much to say here. I just don't even know how we have the time because you're like bringing up all this stuff for me because it's I think we look at people and we assume that they have all of this confidence and they show up a certain way when in fact internally they don't actually feel that way. They just show up that way to kind of compensate for the world around them saying but not saying, right? You didn't say with words, but you said with everything else. You're not supposed to be in this space.
Yeah.
Right? You ain't supposed to be here. You actually don't belong here. You don't fit here.
Let me give two other examples.
Two. All right.
One, two. One, two. Remember, it was an episode of Girlfriends, and I felt like I had been there before. It was an episode when Joan was doing a professional panel.
Mm-hmm. And check out our Girlfriends episode. We have done an episode on Girlfriends.
She was doing a professional panel, and she messed up a word. Like someone said something,
and let me tell you what my worst fear is in my life: to be on a public stage around a whole bunch of white people and say something that with confidence that I know is right.
Oh, I did that before.
Hate it.
And not even just like on a stage, but like there's nothing to be in a group. Mm-hmm. Like whenever they put like
panel,
we're gonna do a breakout group, and then like you're the only person in your group, and you're like, I know the answer, but I'm also scared to say the answer, or I'm being overtalked because no one's gonna listen to me. But then if I do speak up and the word that I said was wrong, oh, I'm definitely gonna get dismissed. We knew the little black girl didn't know nothing. I'm gonna
go. I'm gonna see my way out.
I'm gonna go ahead and head out. Even on Zoom, camera off. I'm out. But I remember that episode, and I was like, that's such a real thing to have that level of I need to be. What they say, twice as good, 3 times as good, whatever they say.
10 times good, depending on what your family said.
I need to be better in order to be looked at as competent.
Yeah. It's just the baseline of everybody around me.
But then there's also the other edge of that. I remember when we had the issue with our forever first lady. I don't care what you say. It's still Black History Month. Our forever first lady, when she did one.
Even when it's not Black History Month,
But when she did one of her speeches, and the response was that she spoke so eloquently as if she was not supposed to, as if people were if people were surprised that she sounded as well as she did.
But what are they really saying? Because I don't even think they're saying that. I think they're also saying, "Oh, I'm surprised you looked and act like us. You might be one of us." Like, it's surprising because what they're not saying is you're really not supposed to. You're supposed to have an accent. You're supposed to talk in a way that we don't understand. You're supposed to have all of this and everything else that we projected onto her, when actually what they're also saying is, oh, girl, you actually can code switch really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much there. There's so much there.
Yeah.
So TLDR is that I need you to take away from at least this section is code switching in this whole system. It's not a person issue. It's a system issue. The system is broken, right? Because whatever the box is, like the professionalism box, the good enough box, however Black people show up and adapt to that tends to move and change, I think.
Yeah.
The box gets smaller. It's like, yeah, but like not this. It needs to look like this, and everything is sanitized. And so knowing that imposter syndrome is really labeled wrong. Mm-hmm. Because it says like you think you're an imposter instead of, hey, this environment is telling you you're an imposter and you actually don't belong here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so if you can take a step back and be like, instead of having like, girl, get up, have the confidence, get it together, right? So look in the environment and say, hey, how do we get this person to feel safe enough to be able to bring their full self here?
Yeah. But I think that is I think that for situations like that, it starts on a smaller scale.
Agreed.
100%. That we have to start in classrooms, in schools, in training spaces, at jobs, and then hopefully can grow to larger scales to stop making people think that they need to switch in order to, how do we, like you said, how do we make them feel comfortable?
To sanitize themselves, to generic themselves, all of these things. Agreed. And I think it also, another step is unlearning. Like having to pick that apart, because I don't know about you, but I work with people and they're like, something's wrong with me. Everybody else can do this. What's the issue? Right? Like, They can all show up, they make it look easy, all of these things, and not take into account like you're different.
Yeah.
Let's look. You a chocolate chip
Mm-hmm.
in a white sea. What in the sugar cookie? I don't know. It's not a great example, but you were one chocolate chip, and so things are easier for them because they don't have to take a hat off and take it off. Put
Yeah.
it on, take it off. Like
Yeah. And so
it's
I
not
think
you.
no, 100%. And then and that I mean that bleeds into so many other things,
Hmm.
whether it's like we said, how you dress, how you wear your hair, the food that you bring to the office, all the different types of things that have to happen and that other people don't even have to consider that now you have to consider in order to feel safe and be able to vibe in this space. I just want to eat my lunch without anybody saying anything to me.
Ask me what it is.
Yes.
Ask
What's
me.
that smell? Oh my gosh. Can we get like the air freshener? What's going on back here? I just want to be left alone. So the safest thing for me to do is to bring some crackers in here and just hope that
Eat
nobody
some
gets
stuff
mad
you
about
don't
that.
even eat for
Yes.
real.
Just to avoid having to deal with these situations.
Microaggressions, people not
Yes.
understanding, like
Yeah.
all of the energy that it takes to just take up space in an environment that's not for you.
And so bringing that back to the movie that we were talking about
Can I
is
give you an example real
okay,
quick?
go
Do you
ahead.
remember the it's like I don't know if it was a trend or something Black Twitter be going off on a regular basis, but the girl who said like she felt so comfortable at work that she kind of accidentally like showed up at her as her full self, and she taught the people at her job like, oh yeah, we did that, but we're gonna spin the block again and we're gonna do it. And then everybody else at the workplace started saying we're gonna spin the block, but it
Yes.
was all older
Yes.
white people. And now she's like, I've created a monster. Now everybody's saying this because I taught them what it meant. And I feel like that is such an like it's such an example of how if you get to show up as your authentic self, like and you're in an environment that can support you, it can go really well for you
Mm-hmm.
because then you get to see people's whole selves,
Yes.
right? And like you get more value that way. They're like, look at whatever her
But
name
I
is.
think that
Like she's amazing and she taught us a new thing and we can digest it. Like it's not a bad thing, but finding those spaces.
yeah, but the beauty, and I think that what you're saying is that everybody gets to show up authentically. So, but
Yes.
that does so the caveat to that is people who stop showing up authentically because they think that they're making you more comfortable by being something else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to put on hip hop whenever I walk in the room.
Can we talk about this?
I don't need you to suddenly start using all kind of weird, hey sister girls, whenever you see me. Because you think that it's gonna like make me more comfortable. I don't need
Is
nobody
that the
ever
motivation?
nobody ever wants to hear I'm almost as dark as you when it's summertime. That does not make me feel more comfortable.
That can't be the motivation in saying those statements. I'm not sure what the motivation is, but maybe it's like to relate, like, oh, like we have things in common, but
But
we
I
don't have to
feel
do that.
yeah, I feel like that's the point. If we're all authentically ourselves, I don't care what your authentic self is. Either we gonna jive or not jive. But you can be you, I can be me, and that's okay.
Not even that's okay. That's a good thing.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
And there's
'Cause
beauty, and none of us
yes,
having to pretend or fake or whatever. And there can be beauty in there as long as it's respectful. But I think that if you're secure enough in yourself, you should also be secure enough in me being myself. But
again, there that's a lot of the problems as well.
yes.
And we don't need all that. It just okay. We'll
So
move on because I'm now irritated.
yes. So in the movie, we see this, and this is why we said they wanted to discuss this with the movie BAPS because we see this. I mean, there's multiple issues. There's
So
also
many.
not even just the issue of code switching. They also put it as like a cultural thing, which there is a cultural and a geographical thing that's happening. They're going from Decatur, Georgia, to going
LA.
to Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And there is definitely a different aspect there, but there is like this underlying tone of them being too much. They're too loud. They're like when Jasmine said that there's a spectrum, people looked at them on the very, very far end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
They were too much, they were too loud,
Ghetto.
they were too ghetto, they're too flashy, their
Mm-hmm.
outfits were too much. It was everything. If there was a two in front of it, Niecy and Mickey were two.
Yeah,
Whatever it was.
absolutely.
It was just two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of see them like get taken advantage of and all this other stuff. Because also, I think that's a part of it too, that people see what they want to see and they project that onto you and then use you for what they think they want to use you for.
Yes, I do feel like that, and that we do sometimes, with that bias, that we assume things about people. So it was almost like assumed about Niecy and Mickey that they
Mm-hmm.
were uneducated,
No,
that they
not
were,
almost. It was definitely assumed. They
yeah.
found them on the side of the street and said, "Hey, I'm gonna just tell you a thing that I think that you're into." And I assume that you need money. Okay, they did, but
Hmm.
that don't mean he knew that.
Hmm.
And get the thing that I need from you because it will be easy for people to believe that you did this thing. Whether you did it or not, who
Let me
cares?
pause. I got to ask you a question. Have you ever been in a situation to where you are having an issue at a store, at a restaurant, or whatever, and the first thing that they offer you is the item free? And I don't know why that frustrates me
What do
sometimes.
you mean? Give me an example?
If I am complaining about something and the first thing that someone says to me, "Well, do you want it free?"
Oh,
No, that's actually not what I was saying. I had no problem paying for what I was paying for.
well, I don't like your tone.
Yeah, I just want you to correct it.
Hmm.
But I feel like that sometimes there's just like this idea that clearly you just want something free, and I think that was almost like the way that Niecy and Mickey were also approached as well. That money make you come. So like I'm
Mm-hmm,
dangle some dollars in your face, and you're gonna show up and do whatever I say,
mm-hmm.
and do it
Which
how
low
I
key
say
they
it.
did,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
assumption also is that they shouldn't need much more than that.
Mhm. Yeah, and you should also be grateful because the fact that I gave you
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
Um,
One thing people did do a lot was wave a whole bunch of money in their face
yeah.
and expect them not to have any morals or integrity about it.
Yes, and that happens multiple times throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we see them too. The idea of, like you said, that spectrum, because I feel like that Niecy was more than Mickey of like trying to like, girl, calm it down, bring it down even
Mm-hmm.
more. But there was the idea of this is how we survive.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that we're going to be able to survive out here and not be a problem is if we shrink who we
Yes.
are.
Yes. Be something we're not.
Yes.
Right? Which is to pretend to kind of fit in with you
Yes.
for as long as we need to. And that meant speaking differently. That meant if you looked at their wardrobe, that changed throughout the movie very quickly.
The hair
Listen, they wore
change.
one thing to go to the Heavy D video on the way in the car. The hair was different by the time they got to the house.
I still don't understand how they did that, but I
Ain't no way. But again, they knew enough to know whatever I look like right now is not going to work in this different setting. So let me change so that I can have more success over here.
yeah. Yeah. And the heaviness of that, because it's the
Yeah,
heaviness of
because it
how
is light and fun. And it's a fun time, the
yeah.
movie. And also it has
But there's
real
the
life.
heaviness of that, of like what that looks like day to day. Like we said, one of the like jokes of the movie was literally her teaching, what do you say when someone asks you how are you? And her typical response was living large and taking charge. But I but I feel like that there's like this thing of like, no, if someone asks you how you're doing, you respond and you say thank you, and you have to smile brightly. So it's like this whole like, let me teach you, this is how we're going to move. So like the heaviness of that if I'm having an everyday conversation and every time someone asks me a question, I have to like, I'm doing very well. How are you doing? Just to feel accepted. That is like, there's so much anxiety in that because what if I slip up? What if I forget the word I'm supposed to say? And we've all had those moments. I'm not sure about you. I've had those moments where you're talking to somebody and you forget, and then before you know it, you like, girl, I was so actually.
Very much so.
So it's like that heavy feeling of like, oh, I just messed up. And how bad is that mess up gonna be?
Absolutely. And times where you actually can get embarrassed. Like if you think about the time when they were on the plane, when they were on the way to LA and her hair was too big First of all, shout out to when they used to only play one movie on the
I
plane.
thought about that too.
Whew, but her hair was too big, people couldn't see, and everybody was complaining and upset. Even
I mean, the hair was huge, but it was still just
yes,
like,
but then after that, like she was like, both of them really were like so embarrassed. They started sinking down in their seat. They was like, "This is terrible. This is really embarrassing," right? But think about that being your feeling all the time when you try to take up space in a place that does
yeah.
not have room
But
for
I
you.
mean, to be honest, now I've never had hair that big, but I I have those moments every now and then about like when my curls are too big. Like I am out here blocking people's views. People sitting behind me. I mean, like I'm a little short, guys, but like people sitting behind me sometimes are like, can you like move your hair over? Yeah, it could be blocking you.
I have a lot of internal stuff about it, but these days I ain't doing nothing different, right?
Yeah, I
Bigger
mean,
the
like
crow,
it is
the
what it is.
closer to God. But I used to be like, okay, if we're going to a movie, let me just make sure that people can see. But you know, this is my
I
hair.
mean,
I didn't choose
100%.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I take up space, but there is like the idea that I
No, I know what
definitely
you
know
mean.
those feelings in the past of like,
Hmm.
yep, in your hair, it's going to block people.
Yeah, and how that's like always there somehow, even if I don't do anything about it.
Hmm.
Still in my mind, I'm gonna be like, oh, can people see over my hair?
I think that, like, also, too, like, I think, and I know I used to struggle with like the self conscious feelings of like, how bright is my outfit?
And one thing about black people, they gonna let you know, man. They is gonna let you know.
Come here, look like a highlighter. And you're like, oh, okay.
I didn't even ask for
All
that.
right, bubblegum.
I didn't even ask for that.
Okay. Okay.
But then I think we need to talk about hairstyles,
Hmm.
okay? And how so
We already said at the beginning, though, that sometimes we do have to code switch when it comes to our hairstyles.
and
What
I'm
you
not
think?
saying that's not, I understand why we have to do that. That's a survival. But I even think in with us,
Yeah.
there was a way where I was trying to think of a good example, but at first they were using a lot of pump it up. Okay, everything was real stiff, ain't nothing going either way. Anything was real slick and laid down. But when they started to go to the other neighborhood and be with the white folks, everything was a little more. Oh, this just grows this way. Oh, this just came out of my scalp. It
Mm-hmm.
was less molded. It was less all of these other things. It was more relaxer and perm
Yeah, but
and
that was
less
still survival.
molded. Yes, but I think it's a big deal even in our society, like in our community, because there are some hairstyles we even deem as like too much, too ghetto, too this, too that. Not even just for professional work, just
Mm-hmm.
in general, right? I still know black women who there's not a world where they would just wear straight backs. They're not going out and they're not wearing it to the club. And then sometimes that's me
But I
too.
think that there's a
But
difference, though. I think that there's a difference in between preference and there's a difference in between that internal bias because there's
mm-hmm,
certain things that to me are just ugly. Like
mm-hmm,
it's not like I think that you hood. It's just not cute to me. But I think that
agreed.
there is
But for some people, they don't do that because they think it's ugly,
yes,
not because
yes.
they don't
So
think it's beautiful.
that's why I said I think that there's a difference in between the preference and between the bias.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But I think we got to be able to piece some of that out because
Yes.
some people will spend their time judging other people looking how they look instead of internally looking of like, why does it matter? It's just a hairstyle,
Mm-hmm. It
right?
should.
It should
Should.
be just a hairstyle. And I know for us, our hairstyles mean more than that, but also like let people express themselves how they want to express themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Without
But
all this extra.
listen, we could do a whole episode on hair. Listen, listen, listen. Um, but I think there's something else that you mentioned too was that something else about that the movie was also known for was that people in the South had gold teeth, and both of the girls had gold teeth.
You know, it's just people in the South, but black people in particular
Really, honestly and
be
truthfully.
having.
But they did in the movie. Like I said, they made like a real hard line between whatever.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so their gold teeth left too.
I know. And I was sad about that.
Yeah. So it's also like, taking away something that was important to them or that was also part of them. Something else that I feel like that I got, and I think like maybe it was the bias within me that like, oh yes, it probably would be a little cringy, but then also the part of me that was like, I don't care. I probably would have did it too. The restaurant scenes when they see Howard Hewitt and they see Leon. So I can't hop on him in a restaurant.
No, no. There's not a world in which you were going to be able to hop with a celebrity at a restaurant that they specifically go to so they don't have to be around fans. No, I
Okay,
surprised me.
that makes sense. But I do think that their response. I mean, like, they probably should have been prepped before they got there. But I mean, but that still is the hard spot. Of like, you have to like prep me because how else am I like? How? I don't know. That's hard, y'all. Because listen, there are certain celebrities right now that if I see, I'm gonna try to climb them like she did Ella Cool J in
Okay.
in the airport. I just
And this is why we can't take you places.
that's your bias.
and I'm owning that. I'm owning that. But seriously, we just talked about that actually in our own group chat of like you can take certain friends to certain places
Absolutely.
because some of your friends do not have the skills or the desire to code switch
Mm-hmm.
in a certain place, and you would like them to code switch at a particular place,
But
right? And it be like that.
yes, but then sometimes there is a level of survival in that. Survival, not even just because of the bias, but because I want to eat my food in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you go somewhere, you want to start hollering and going off on people. And now we gotta go. I don't know. I just wanted to come and chill.
But
I don't want to fight tonight. So I don't know. To me, that's different.
why is it different? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like we have to examine why we do things. I'm not saying that it's not important for us
Mm-mm.
to have survival
That
and
ain't my friend.
protect ourselves. But like we talked about the Keisha Cole and Eve situation, how they would go out in public and Keisha Cole, she liked to talk with her hands. And so if something pop off, she's all about action. She's not about words.
Mhm.
And Eve is like, we can't be out here in these streets with these white folks and
But
you
not
acting this way.
But not only that, I think that Eve was also on a level of survival as well too. You're not fixing to jeopardize my money, my career, and everything else by having me on the front page of TMZ because you hit somebody for something that wasn't even necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it was necessary, okay, yeah, that's different. But somebody grabbed my arm, man, walk that off.
I get it. And I will say that the burden is even bigger on us because we can point to a white celebrity, same age, doing the same thing that was in brawls and whatever in the club. And people are just like, they're just wild. They're just young and wild. Versus a black woman and you pop up a fight, then what? Nobody wants to work with you. You're
No,
just ghetto. You're just
100%.
ratchet. Like, I get the survival and I get the choices that people make. No judgment. I totally understand. But also, our livelihood can be impacted versus somebody else who doesn't look like that and does like they get all of
But
these
no.
chances and
Yeah,
understanding
I
about it.
think that's the same thing with so many different aspects. The same way, like I just said earlier, I would not go, or I mean, I have the issue now, but in the past, I wouldn't go to an interview with braids in my head. But if somebody else went to that, they're like, oh my gosh, she's so exotic, is she? Because I had the same hairstyle and you called me hood.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress.
I'm just saying it gets sticky, it gets complicated.
Yes.
And again, can I emphasize that other people who don't look like this and have the privilege that they have, they are not having this conversation. They are not having to think about this stuff before they leave the house, before they go to work. They just get up and go and be who they are.
Yes.
Right? And what we're saying is we do not have the privilege to get up and go and be who we are. We have to be in survival mode and protect ourselves. And I'm not saying don't be in survival mode and don't protect yourselves.
Yes.
I'm just saying make sure you have a space where you can be authentically you without having to mask and code switch.
And part of being mentally dope is having spaces where you can also feel validated. And that's what we're doing. We are validating that space. Yes. We see you, see us, see you. We are validating that space that we understand that this is necessary. We understand that there is some of this that will not be shaken anytime soon. But we are also saying that we get it. And some days it's heavy and some days it sucks. But we are out here fighting this fight together, baby.
Mm-hmm. Find your spaces. There's a reason why we gather.
Yes.
There's a reason why we be together. And we want things to look a certain way and be a certain way because we need our own stuff.
And find your tribe of people who can also, come like Desmond was saying, sorry, make you feel safe too.
Yeah.
So,
and get you some gold teeth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why they couldn't do what they had to do and still keep a little something in there. Like, what's up?
Yes. Hey.
That's the hill I'm gonna die on.
I want to know, like, what did you guys think about this movie? How do you feel watching it now, present day, versus when you watched it possibly in like the 90s or the early 2000s, 99, the 2000s?
1997. Yes. Okay, do you hear me?
So, other thoughts on how this shows up for you? Times when you feel like that it is a little heavy, or it does cause some of that imposter syndrome or
Yep.
some of that anxiety.
Yep.
And as always, if you are here, like, subscribe, follow, tell a friend, tell a friend.
And more than anything, stay mentally dope, y'all.
All right.